Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a roast duck breast with some roast potatoes and crispy Brussels sprouts. Come along and I'll show you how to make it. We're going to start by cutting up some potatoes and then boiling them just until I get tender and I can poke a fork into them or a knife. When you go to the shops, you want to look for the correct potatoes for actually what you're making, because some potatoes are good for roasting, some mashing. So it's always good to check at your supermarket on the bag what they suggest. So these potatoes, as you can see, they say they're good for roasting. So I'm going to put them in a quick boil before roasting them in the air fryer. The boil just kind of helps to soften the inside and makes the cooking time much faster. So once they're boiled, I'm going to strain it, leave it in the pan, and give the pan just a little bit of a shake. This just helps to kind of break up the edges of the potatoes, and it means that it's lots of surface area for the crispiness and all the different flavors that we're going to add, or the different herbs that we're going to add to create a maximum amount of flavor. Let's get on to the duck. So as you can see here, I've got two lovely duck breasts. Now, you can see there's a layer of fat just above the breast. What we want to do is lightly score this layer of skin and fat to create a nice rendered down crispy top or edge. Now what I like to do, I'll just flip these over. You can see there's a little bit of the fat and the skin overhanging in. I'm quite health conscious. I like to cut just a little bit of that excess fat off the duck breast. So after cutting that, I'll go back and just make these angled crisscross slits just across the skin and the fat, not puncturing too deeply into the breast, just along the top. Now what I want to do next is grab some salt and massage some salt into the duck breast. If there's any moisture on it, just make sure you pat it dry with a paper towel, but then just layer some salt on top of it. Then I'm going to add some pepper before putting it into a cold pan. That's right, a cold pan. You want to use a cold pan when you're cooking duck, because if you put it into a hot pan, the skin and the fat will instantly seize up and it will just be locked in, and there'll be a big bit of chewy fat between the duck breast and the skin. So what you want to do is you want to start it skin down, fat down in a cold pan and slowly bring the heat up. As it slowly heats up, the fat's going to start melting away and rendering into the pan, and it's going to be cooked in its own fat. You don't need to add any oil, just put it straight in and slowly turn up the heat. After a couple of minutes, you can kind of pick the duck up, just have a look, see what it looks like. You want to look for a nice kind of deep golden browny coloured skin. And once that happens, you flip it over just for a minute and you can just see the other side, the lovely dark reddy pink duck breast. And once that's seared, you want to pop it into the oven at 180 degrees for about 5 or 6 minutes. Now this really depends on the size of your duck breast, but don't do it too long. You want to come out with a nice medium rare looking piece of duck breast. So when you put it in the oven, just make sure that the skin is facing up so it can stay crispy while it cooks. Now, while that's in the oven, let's move over to the Brussels sprouts. So I've got some Brussels sprouts here. I'm just going to cut the end off and cut each of them in half. If there's any big ones, feel free just to cut them into quarters, but a lot of these, they're not that big, so I'll just keep them cut in half. After I've cut them up, put them in a bowl and put just a dash of oil, probably about a teaspoon, maybe 2, it depends how many you're making, but you don't need much, just a little bit to coat the outside. And from there, you want to add some pepper and salt and maybe some chili if you like it spicy. You can add a little bit of garlic powder as well, just to add in some extra flavour. So give it a good mix around, and once it's been mixed around, you want to open your air fryer, chuck them in and put them on for about 10 minutes on 180. So these are going to cook off nicely. At the same time, you can grab your potatoes and chuck them in there too. Now if you don't have an air fryer, well, I've only just got an air fryer, but before all this, it's very easy to make this in the oven. In the oven, just set the temperature to 180 degrees Celsius and just lay them over on a baking sheet. This is the same thing. You can give them a bit of a spray with olive oil and cook them for about 10 to 15 minutes. It's going to take the duck out of the oven. It looks pretty good now. You can see we've got that nice looking crispy skin, and the duck breast looks nice and moist. I'm just going to leave it here to rest for a while, and while that's happening, I'm going to prepare the red wine sauce. So into a saucepan, I'm going to put a little bit of finely cut shallots with a little bit of garlic, and just let these on a low heat kind of melt away a little bit before adding a little bit of butter and some red wine. We just want to let this simmer away a little bit, and it'll have that bit of flavour from the duck, and it should give off a nice kind of red wine sauce after reducing down for about 10 minutes. You want to see this go from a very liquidy state to a bit of a more dry, kind of sticky almost look. The red wine will start to reduce down and create a lovely looking thick velvety sauce. If you like your chili, feel free, add some chili. I like a little bit of chili, so I like to add my dried chili flakes on hand. Now with my air fryer, I like to just keep giving it a bit of a shake, mix around, make sure that the hot air is getting every side, and this is the same in the oven. When you're cooking in the oven, you want to make sure maybe halfway through, bring the potatoes and Brussels sprouts out, just give them a little bit of a flick around and make sure that each side is getting a nice bit of hot air, need to make it nice and crispy. Got a plate, and we'll start serving up. We'll get the potatoes and the Brussels sprouts. My red wine sauce should be finished. Oh, look at that. Look how delicious that duck looks. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you try out this recipe and enjoy this duck as much as I am. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.